In the meantime, there are growing concerns over the worsening security situation in Nigeria's north-central region. The states include Benue, Plateau, Nasarawa, Niger, Kwara and Kogi are facing repeated attacks by deadly armed groups. In recent months, hundreds of school children and community members have been abducted, including a mass kidnapping of more than 300 pupils and staff from a school in Niger State. Residents say villages and even churches have come under attack, forcing many families to flee from their homes for safety. The wave of violence has left communities living in fear, with repeated calls for stronger protection and urgent government intervention. Security agencies are under increasing pressure to respond decisively as armed gangs continue raids and ransom demands, deepening what many now describe as a humanitarian and security crisis. Security expert Salauideen Hashim joins us now for a conversation on the security situation in the north. You're welcome.
For having me.
All right, so across Nigeria's north-central states, we've been seeing a troubling surge in armed attacks and mass abductions, and these have left communities living in perpetual fear. Now, in your view, what are the underlying drivers behind this rise in violence?
Yeah, I mean, North Central has, over the years, been an epicenter for terrorist attack for a variety of reasons, one of which is as a result of the encroachment of the Sahel, and most importantly, the issue of resources that is being competed for, and of course, very lately has become the citadel for terrorist attacks. And of course, looking at how counterinsurgency has also mutated in the Northeast. There has also been some movement of terrorist organizations that have also designed sleeper cells in most of these areas within that region. And of course, it is also basically on the side of the state a failure of intelligence, our own inability to be able to structure our intelligence response, our human intelligence capability, which I think the arrival of the U.S. Operations would actually provide and support. What we may see in the U.S. Nigeria counter effort would be some level of turnaround in our firepower, which I think will be able to get some structured response. Our battlefield performance would improve to be able to engage these guys, and that is because from the U.S., we are getting what we call the ISR. We are getting intelligence, we are getting surveillance, and we are getting reconnaissance. So if we get these three, alongside with a drone support, drone asset that helps us in monitoring, I think it will be some level of asset that we need to be able to have in terms of helping to respond. But most importantly is that the root causes of this whole challenge need to be dealt with, and that is the deficit of governance. How do we deal with all of this issue? Because it is only a matter of time, all the issue bordering around battlefield would be over, and of course support from the US will not be forever. So how do we therefore institutionalize governance that help to add value to people's lives within this region? And if we check all of these states that currently are being affected by all of these challenges, you realize that they have one thing in common. They have some level of deficit in human capital index. So there is some level of economic challenge, setbacks, and all of these indicators play out both in Niger, Benue, and Kogi, and we have not seen adequate support in terms of development. So there's a need for some kind of kinetic and non-kinetic approach in terms of helping to contain what is going on in that particular state at the moment, to be able to help structure and go beyond whatever support we are going to get from the US. But I tell you one thing that is very fundamental. The governors in these states have not been very strategic in helping their people, and that is without any form of prejudice. There's a need for the states to invest more in terms of helping to put development in local areas, so that at least people who are being recruited, because this is about recruitment of young people into these groups, a number of them are volunteering to join this group because they find that the alternative source for survival. And this is very important for us to look at it from that prism and of course find a way to engage it. And perhaps one of the things that I also think is very important is that with the arrival of the U.S. Counterinsurgency support, these guys are also looking for civilian shield. So they are finding shield that will help them, because one of the things that will play out very strongly is that we'll go from a broad-based attack to specific airstrikes. So it therefore means that our targets cannot miss because we are going to be attacking with specific kind of equipment that would take locations into account. So it is very important for state governors to also begin to build post-insurgency or post-conflict template or post-conflict economic development roadmap for their people, because otherwise what we are going to see will be some level of mutation, we will see some level of adaptation, but we will not see some level of solution in the long run. And this is also not good for post-conflict kind of situation.
All right, so we've been seeing ongoing military and police operations within these communities. Armed groups are still continuing to strike repeatedly. So when you look at states like Benue, you look at Plateau, you look at Niger, and even Kogi, how have these groups been able to operate so effectively across multiple states despite security efforts? And before you answer that, we did have a conversation earlier on with some of our correspondents who have been moving around these communities, and there is a question of actual police presence as well as proper rescue efforts, seeing as they come for a moment and then leave for a while. So what do you make of this?
Yeah, because our operations are reactive, that is one. It is not proactive. The second one is that the only thing that is missing in our entire security ecosystem is that we don't carry the community members along. Because the communities are those who give you soft intelligence that will help you to be able to sort out any form of threats within a very specific period of time. But again, you get into a community with the approach of trying to show force because you have all the capability. Those soft approaches and little information that you process into intelligence might be very useful, and that is second. The third one is that most of these guys we are dealing with, we are not doing an updated kind of review of their capabilities. These guys have also improved in terms of, they're not just ragtag. These guys also apply drones that even Nigerian armed forces or security system in some of these locations don't have. Before they attack, they deploy technology. We don't even have technology to communicate efficiently and effectively. And of course, that tells us that we have some level of setback. We are using some sort of we are 20 years behind in our counter-insurgency warfare. These guys have been able to advance. They have procured technology. They have some level of capabilities that even you will be amazed at how they have been able to acquire them. So if these guys in the forest have invested in all of this modern equipment to be able to attack, my only concern is that how come the only thing we continue to do is to dig trenches and, of course, just rely on our AK-47 and perhaps our Shilka and some of these little tanks that we put forward. We should also be able to deploy drones and be able to strengthen coordination, collaboration, and communication. The idea where we have a particular unit also having an airline is also something that is creating conflict. Because, for instance, we have the Nigerian Army that has an air wing, yes, for purpose of reconnaissance. Again, and we have seen video recently of the Nigerian police force also using their own helicopter to also mount some kind of AMGs on them and use them for attacks. I think this kind of arrangement does not allow for proper coordination. And of course, even the clip you are showing is supposed to be showing some sort of equipment that help to be able to look at where landmines are. I mean, I think we need to also improve very largely in terms of our technology in our warfare approach. Otherwise, we are going to continue to run through this circle, and it is not going to be good for the morale of our personnel in the field. And most importantly is that we lose men on a periodic and a regular basis. And this shouldn't be the case, because we have men that are very courageous, combatant, and they are very gallant. The only thing that is missing are those delicious equipment that will help them to be able to deploy adequately, which I think the state recently has also improved, because I also see that lately the president also interacting with Turkey might also deliver a number of additional equipment. But combining that with what we have ongoing with the US, I have some level of hope that we may be able to cross some of these hurdles in the coming days and weeks. But most importantly is that before that happens, we need to also localize our security arrangement. What are the kind of protection infrastructure that we have to be able to give community members some level of confidence in our security system? I think for me that is fundamental. Until help arrives, we need to find our cavalry and put them forward.
All right, so the worsening insecurity is not just a security issue. It affects local economies, it displaces thousands, and it creates a lot of broken homes. Now, and humanitarian crisis. How is this pattern impacting daily life for residents in the affected regions?
Oh, definitely. A man is actually wired and connected culturally, spiritually, and economically to his environment. First thing that the man loses once displacement happens is that he loses his source of livelihood, and that is very fundamental. So once that is taken away from him, every other thing therefore begin to set in. One is that the post-traumatic stress disorder immediately sets in, and that also brings additional layer of violence that might also begin to set in how he also interacts with his own family and of course the wider society. So they say an angry man, a hungry man is an angry man. So what you have simply done is that you also have somebody out there who is also very angry, one, with the state for their inability to protect him. Two is that they cannot guarantee his safety. And then, of course, he has moved away from that primary source. And the third one is that he is actually a ready-made weapon in the hands of those people who might want to recruit him as a way of getting back at the state for their inability to come through when it matters most. Then, of course, he might just volunteer and join this group because, again, that is the only way he can protect his own immediate family. So most of the people we have seen joined because, again, only in Zamfara you have over 300,000 of these guys with about 300 sleeper cells. So it means that in each group you have about 300 across about. So you tell you the kind of resources that this guy deploy. And if you see what happens lately is that they try to display cash on social media. It is actually a strategy for recruitment, so that a lot of people who are either desperate or who they want to radicalize can see those things and find them as an alternative, considering that already there is a spike in our economy where people are living in such a situation where they are very unhappy. So they create that level of alternative. And if you check everywhere since the inception, even from Mohammed Yusuf up until now, they use economy as the attractive point to be able to bring people in. So it is very important that we also need to find a way to counter some of these already existing weapons in the hands of these non-state armed groups. And the first weapon they try to weaponize is our economy system, is our justice system. So when they sell the fact that government cannot even give you adequate support on economy, or they cannot actually give you and deliver justice in the way it should be done, or that they want to say that accountability is actually lost and they can create something in alternative. Most of these guys have set up some kind of quasi-judicial system, quasi-security system in local areas where they operate. And most importantly is that they also collect tax, they impose tax, they actually run the economy of those environments. And the only thing you need to do is to pledge allegiance and loyalty. So what that tells you is that we have government within the government running in these local areas.
All right, that was Salauideen Hashim, security expert, speaking on Nigeria's security challenges. Pretty much more of a crisis at this point.